Good evening, everyone. Hi, this is Little Doc Ronnie Joseph Hobson, the host and founder of the Revival Hope. We have an exciting program today. We have the host for our program. My mess became my message. We're going to bring her on. So you're at home, you have time to tell your friends, your relatives, you have time to share the link. We are on Revival Hope, Global Outreach on Facebook, and we're on ROHGOM on YouTube. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to some and reintroduce you to others. Doc, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you? How are you doing? Okay, so I just want to take the time out and reiterate. Welcome once again to My Mess Became My Message. My name is Dr. Michiel, and my co-host is Queenie. How are you doing, Queenie?
I'm great. I'm feeling great. I hope everyone is feeling well as well.
Yes. So as usual, just drop in the chat where you're listening from and just tell us how you're feeling today on a scale of 1 to 5. Today, we're diving into the heartwarming and sometimes chaotic world of families on extraordinary journeys. Our episode is entitled A Day in Our Lives, Routines, Meltdowns, and Magic Moments. And we're exploring the wonderfully intricate experience of raising children with autism. I'm thrilled to introduce our amazing guest, Lanidia Beeman, aka Nina, and Janetta Hamilton, aka JJ, who are here to share their unique stories and reveal the highs and lows of their daily lives, from the structured routines to those unforgettable magic moments. As we dive in, I want to remind you of this truth. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. And I'm sure both ladies can relate to that scripture. So now I want you to, both of them have been on the show before. JJ has been a hot commodity, so I had to bring her back. Everyone wants her to finish her story. And Nina, she has been here before on another journey, but she also has a child with autism. So let's reintroduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey. JJ, Nina.
I was gonna say Nina can go first.
Okay, Nina.
Hi, I am Nina. Real name is Lanitia. I have 3 children. My middle child is the one with autism. He'll be 9 in June. What else you want?
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So.
And then Miss Janetta.
Hello there again. So, as I was announced, Janetta Hamilton, but my nickname is JJ. So that's what I'm called by. And I have 6 children, but only one is living. So my son Steph was the one with autism, and he was 17 years old, and he passed away a little over 2 years ago. So I'm happy to be on again to share my experience of the last 15 years of Seth's life with autism.
Yeah, that's so sad. But you're a strong woman, so you're here. You're here to encourage someone, and that's admirable. So now let's kick things off by looking at what a typical morning is like in your household. What routines have become essential for your child and for you as their caregiver, and how do you guide your child from one part of the day to the next?
I guess I'll go first. I know with him growing up, because he started off at earlyhood child development. He was first diagnosed with developmental delay, but I knew he was on the spectrum when he was about 2 years old, maybe 1 year old. But 2 years old is when I definitely started seeing the difference. And it was a journey, because I did get diagnosed with lupus around that time, after I had him, because he was back and forth in the hospital a lot, and he had sleep apnea, so he had a hard time breathing at night, so it obviously kept me up a lot. Then I was going to school and I was working graveyard shift and stuff like that, and so I would say he was my child to kind of make me grow up and be more responsible. Because having, every child is different. So having him, it was just something that just clicked in me to want to be more healthier and to want to, just do better for myself for him. So our morning routines, I know growing up for him when he was in the school, for pre-K and kindergarten, first and first grade, he's in third grade right now. So yeah, those years we tussled a lot. He always wanted to carry around his Mario. I feel like his Mario gave him superpowers, and without his Mario, he would melt down. And I had to explain to his teachers, like, he has to have that Mario on him, or else you're not. It's going to be hard for him. And they were always try to say, well, he needs to, learn how to live without it. I said, no, I enforced it to where they let him have that Mario on him, or he was just not going to have a good day. Because for some reason, that just kept him from having meltdowns. He felt safe carrying that Mario. And so getting on the bus in the morning, and because me and his dad do split them from weekends, weeks on and off, and the weekends on and off. He didn't really like being with mommy because mommy was disciplined. Mommy definitely had structure, and dad was lenient. And so whenever he had to get on the bus, for sure, it was hard getting him on the bus, and just to come to find out that he's very big on energy. So it was something that was going on with the teacher or the aide that was on that bus at the time. And then when she left and there was another teacher aide that came on, he was a lot better. I think she maybe yelled a lot and she wasn't very understanding of him. So we did kind of tussle a lot. I had to take his Mario away in the morning sometimes. I'm like, if you're going to have a bad morning, this was something that I had to enforce. I didn't like it because I knew that was something that he needed. But it did straighten him up a little bit. And then once the other lady had left because she went on maternity leave, he started having those meltdowns again. And so I just was like, I had to take the Marios away again. But, we try not to condition our kids to get their own way a lot. But I feel like for him, I had to understand more about what at the time the Asperger's. It was called Asperger's. So I had to figure out what it was that I needed to do to understand him more, but also be stern with him. So I just kept doing what I was doing, and eventually it got better. I think once he started going to school with his sister, he was more comfortable and felt more safe getting on the bus with her. At some point, they did have them on two separate buses when he started going to school with her. I did enforce them to say, hey, can she ride on the bus with him instead of him going on her bus? So they allowed her to ride on the bus with him, and things got a little bit easier that way. Now, it's a lot of reminding. So like I said, he's about to be 9 years old, so he can tend to forget a lot, and it's just things that are just normal routine. He'd be asking sometime what toothbrush is his, and you're the only one with the Mario toothbrush. So it's like. And sometimes I do have to look at myself because I can get very overstimulated. My youngest is 3, and I can get very overstimulated very fast. So sometimes I have to take a step back. But I think if it wasn't for God, me incorporating more prayer time and Just asking God to become the woman that he needs me to be, and then rebuking out a lot of demons as well in my home. That helped out a lot, because you never know what your children are facing at school as well. So, and what they're carrying from other kids and teachers as well. So casting out demons and doing all that stuff, it became a lot easier for me to, you know, be on his level. And what got to me was one day he cried to me, was like, you know, I don't like being different, because kids don't treat me the same. And he was getting tired of, you know, people picking on him a little bit. And he noticed that he was different. And I was like, son, you're not different. We're different. You know, I was like, we're the ones that are different. So he, I think that kind of made him feel a little better about himself. And I was like,
a little reassurance.
Yeah, like, you have a special superpower that we don't have. And I said, God gave that to you specifically for you to use it. And so I think now he's becoming more better, and just with the structure and me and dad kind of being on the same page every now and again, it does help. But the morning routine, he's gotten better. I feel like he's the one who gets ready the fastest now. So, but growing up, it was a little hard.
So pretty much you're saying that the Mario helps him to stay on task.
Yeah, it did. It did help him stay on task. But now it's different now.
Okay. So Miss JJ.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, when Seth was little, we were still living in Kansas. So it was pretty much that our mornings were having to get up, my daughter Kyra and Seth as well. And it was a drop off at first when he first started, at Rainbows, the bus would come and pick him up. And so it was very close. So he had breakfast there, and he would have like his snacks and lunch. And so when he got older to go to school, then I sent him to the before care. And that was interesting because it had to be on a probationary period. Based off of his behavior. So he did well. All the staff in the morning absolutely just loved him. So I would drop him off for that, and then he would have school, and then he would go into aftercare, except for the couple of days that he had speech. So when we moved here to Virginia, then mornings we were able to have breakfast here at the house, and then he could go ahead and go to school, and then he would have lunch. For his first year of school here, they did have breakfast at school. So it wasn't, too bad getting ready. I'm one that I always had to prep the night before, so all their clothes had to be laid out and everything had to be ready. So it was easier to, get ready in the morning to be able to go. And just like Nina shared, Kyra and Seth got to ride the bus together to school. So it was great. And that just started right off that way. And I thought that was really great, especially from us moving from Kansas, not knowing anybody, and the schools here being brand new. So, and Seth, as I shared, a couple weeks ago, he absolutely loved the school bus. So that was his whole thing. And so mornings were, like I said, fairly easy. Now, when he got into middle school and high school, same thing. He had breakfast here, and then he would go. And I found out when he was in high school that he was having breakfast here and then going to school and having some more breakfast.
Of course.
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah, because I did share that Seth was not a picky eater. He absolutely loved food. So it was just like that. But his mornings were just like he would eat, and he would, take his seizure medicine. And then he would go and sit on the couch. And I mentioned that he liked to flip pages of books. That's what he would do until the bus would come. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like the structure helped them to stay on task.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important for anyone who has children with autism. Structure And consistency is very, very important, extremely important. Because once they get out of their routine, I think that's where meltdowns happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important.
I have a
Okay,
question.
so okay.
How do you cope, or well, like, what are your strategies when you feel overwhelmed or when you feel frustrated? You know, when, because not I'm sure not everything usually goes well, like routines. So how would you cope with that? How do you deal with it?
I'll go ahead and go first for this one. So, me being a single parent, raising Seth and Kyra here in Virginia, it was a lot of counting for me from 1 to 10, praying, taking some deep breaths. Sometimes I would need to go to my room and maybe have 5 minutes in there and then come back out. And so I would, busy him with something. I did go to an autism presentation from a doctor here who had a son with autism. And when I went to his presentation, or to hear him speak, I was frustrated when I heard him say that his wife, would be home with their son. And that as soon as he would walk in the door, she would pretty much be like, "Tag, you're it." And she would go to the room and have her downtime because she had been at home with him all day.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was suggesting that, you like take breaks in the bathroom and these different things. And I thought to myself, I can go into the bathroom and the bedroom and take these breaks, but there's nobody to tag team with. So when I come back out, it's me.
Yeah.
Again. So then it was really praying and saying, okay, God, I need for you to, continue to give me strength and equip me with what you need me to be in. As Nina shared, I need for you to help me be the mom that you want me to be to Kyra and Seth as well. So I will say Kyra was a big help with him. So they, could play games and those things. So that was something. So like if I needed a moment, if I started to cry, I had to leave the room because that was something that would stress Seth out. He would be like, "Mommy, what's wrong?" And so, but Kyra was pretty good about picking up that I needed a moment. So yeah, she would entertain him with something. So those were some of the things that I used as far as some coping, when he was younger. Now, when he was older, that was easy. It was just, okay, well, you can go to your room. That's all. Because, whatever's in your room, you can go ahead and do. I can have my moment. We're good. And then with Kyra being here, then there would be times where I would just say, I'm going to go to my room. I would leave the door open, but I would be in my room and I have a TV in there and I would just watch what I needed to watch and let them watch something out here together. And every once in a while I would have to referee a fight, but we were, able to manage. And then that's just kind of how things work. But coping skills are great, especially to learn. So
yes. So someone says parental break, awareness of I need a moment. So it's important to, I guess, just listen to your body. And I think that helps decrease that frustration as well. Miss Nina?
Yeah, for me, because I moved out of my mom's house 3 years ago, so I was 26, and at that point I didn't realize how much of a luxury I had living with my mom at the time, because she was very helpful. So like she would do, I would go hide, and I kind of felt bad because my mom had to be the one to structure him, and because he did have a lot of meltdowns. I want to say after I had my youngest, so about 3 years ago when he was he's 8, so he was about 5.5 is when he kind of stopped having these extreme meltdowns. But I would go and hide. Unfortunately, I did do substance at the time, and I would go in my car and just sit there and cry. There was an ample amount of therapy that I needed that I didn't get at the time. Um, but because I was struggling with lupus, I didn't even know how to navigate with that. So it was very hard for me. I cried a lot. I cried a lot. Because I felt like a bad mom sometimes because I didn't know. A lot of time I didn't know what was wrong with him. And he was a picky eater because he had swallowing problems. His esophagus was very small, so he can only swallow certain foods, and he would choke on a lot of foods, and it was hard. So how I dealt with those meltdowns at the time, I sat in my car and I let go of my stress that way at the time. Now, what I do is I give it to God. I really, since I've moved into my house, that first year I moved into my house, I was dealing with postpartum, didn't realize it. Um, I would fuss a lot, um, kind of yell. I used to kind of yell a lot. And then I would go into my room and cry. I didn't really know how to I was very overstimulated a lot. I didn't know how to function. But I didn't whoop him. And I think that made my oldest a little jealous because I didn't whoop him and I just fussed a lot. Um, I do now incorporate some pops, but I still don't really whoop my children. I pop them every now and again. But when I cope with them two, because they bickered, because they're only a year and a half apart. My oldest is 10, he'll be 9 in June, she'll be 11 in December. And so she just was like, he cries too much or he gets on my nerve and he doesn't understand. And because it's always a constant reassurance for him, you have to repeat yourself about 4, 5, 6, 7 times to him, and it can get frustrating with her. And I just was like, you just have to do it. I was like, he's different. And I did eventually tell him at some point that he did have autism. I let him be aware of the fact that he had autism. I wanted him to know what it was, but I also told him, I said, this was a special thing that God has given you. We all grown up in church. So, he's very big on loving God. And so I do proud myself about that. So what I do now is I give it to God because I was tired of being strong. I was tired of trying to do it and be perfect. I'm not perfect, and, you know, juggling, being a young mom because I'm only 29 now. So, and then you kind of fall into a stereotype, and I didn't want to fall into a stereotype. So I started giving it to God, and now God is the way that I cope. I go in my prayer room and I give it to the Lord. And now, to be honest with you, I don't even have any coping things I just go to my room now. I'll be like, I need a moment, you guys, just give me it. So he understands. And sometimes he even understands when he's being a little too much. He'll come and apologize when he kind of knows when he's doing a little much. He's like, I'm sorry, mommy, if I, was yelling at you. And sometimes he don't got no filter. So I don't want to keep him. I don't want him to but I'd be like, son, there's a time for everything. And so, at times, I've had to pop him in his mouth, for being a little more disrespectful than what I sometimes will allow him to have those meltdowns. But when it comes to the tantrums and stuff like that, no, I don't deal with that. You go take your time. I'm going to take my time. And then we do come together and we say what we can do better because I don't want him to always feel it's always him. I know there's something that I can do better as well. So I'll be like, okay, we need a moment apart. You go into your room. I'm going to go to my room. We're going to come back and talk about this in a minute after we both calm down. So, yeah, but it was a lot of crying, a lot of things. Because like I said, with being diagnosed with lupus, I didn't know what to do. And recently over this last year, my health has become more important because it does take a big part of how you cope with things. So,
Okay, so someone says, I like that. God is the way I cope, my moment.
Yeah.
So I know that JJ, you are in some groups that has helped. Can you share with Nina how effective those groups are, and if it's something that you would recommend to help her, because it's self-care. Like, you need to take care of yourself as well. I mean, it's good, you go to God, you pray, but we're still here on earth, and there are things that we need to do for ourselves. So can you share with her some things, some practical things that you're doing as well that has helped you cope?
Yes. So one of the things that helped with coping here was that I tapped into resources that are here in Virginia Beach, where I live. So it just basically was, there is an autism society here. So that helped with a lot to be able to tap into there. But it was basically looking for what else does he need, as far as if he needed ABA therapy, physical therapy, outside of school, and then if he needed more speech. And then it came down to that there's a waiver here in Virginia Beach that it's really for a seasoned person who is about ready to go to a nursing home, but the autistic children qualified for it. And once Seth qualified for that, I was able to hire one of my babysitters. And she also was somebody, when I had my first job, when I moved here, she worked with me. And so she became Seth's attendant. And I call her my other daughter. Her name is Shay. And she would come and give me respite time. So I'd have attendant care hours and respite time. So she would come 2 times during the week. And then the last probably 3 years, 2.5, maybe 3 years of Seth's life, she would come twice a week, every week. And then she would give me one Saturday night to Sunday, and then she would give me a full weekend. And that would be every month, just so I could get more breaks. And then it was nice to connect with other autism moms to be able to, share stories and experiences, and just to be able to have somebody else that has experience with it. And then also, I did mention earlier that I have 6 children and only one is living. So Seth was my second child that lived for 17 years, but I had 3 miscarriages before that. And then I had a baby who lived for 2 days and passed away 6 years and 2 days before Seth passed away. Mm-hmm. So what helped is a grief support group. So I went to a pregnancy and infancy loss one that was once a month after I lost Lillian. And I also went to the Children's Hospital here, had a grief support as well. So I actually was doing 2 grief support groups a month. And then I ended up doing 3 because there was another grief support group at another hospital. So then I was having 3 grief support groups a month. Mm. And then now my own church in Norfolk, we started a grief support ministry. And let me back that up and say, God started that grief support ministry that was very much so needed. And we all have different griefs. We have the loss of relationships, money, having to move. Like Nina, you said how you left your mom's house and went to get your own. And actually, we don't sometimes think about it, but that actually was some grief for you, that move to separate like that and then really have to do it on your own. So the grief support group is called the Good Grief Ministry. And it's just nice to be able to be in a group where everybody shares grief, whether it's the loss of a loved one, or if we're talking about work or whatever else, because all these things are grief. So having any type of outlet, if there is a autism group that you can find on Facebook. I did find a few of those, and those were helpful for like different questions that new moms would ask, for their child being newly diagnosed. That was very helpful. And then just to still further educate myself on autism, because, we know every child is different. And with Seth, it was just amazing, literally. If you haven't done this, Nina, I would suggest it, just to sit back and observe, just to sit back and watch him when he would watch TV, when he would watch a movie that he liked, when he would do a puzzle, just anything that he liked to do, just to observe. And what I would learn just by observing him. So you mentioned that your son liked Mario. So Seth's thing was school buses. He absolutely loved Thomas the Train when he was younger. And then he also loved cars. Oh my goodness. Lightning McQueen and Mater. I mean, I literally have all three movies in this house. And he had so much Lightning McQueen and car stuff, like in his room. And I mean, even at 17, he still watched cars. Okay. And it's still Lightning McQueen and Mater and all those things. So I just learned so much, just about him scripting and the things that just really, made him who he was. And Seth was just full of life. That's just how he was. He was a happy child. I mean, just always somewhere laughing on his own or whatnot. So just taking that time and then those moments just to spend, like if Kyra went to do something, I love to have mommy son time and hang with him and just, hey, what do you want to do? And literally just get down on his level and try to get in his world as much as I possibly could. And that helped a lot too, because I was like, I cried a lot too. I felt the same way you felt me. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm a bad mom. And where did I fail here and that and everything? And I had to learn some things about myself so that I could change that. So then it was like, no, you're not a bad mom. You're doing the best you can and still asking for God to give me guidance. And look, I'm still doing it now. She's 21 and I'm like, oh my goodness, I was not like this at 21. But anyway, so it's just, whatever the Holy Spirit literally brings to your mind for you to do that. Another thing that helped, and then I'll be done. Temple Grandin is a huge person for autism. If you have not heard of her, there was a HBO movie done of her, and Claire Danes played as her. And I tell you what, I watched this movie and I literally was so shocked that I didn't cry until the end. The movie was over. And I was just like, oh, with emotion. This movie helped so much with autism because just to summarize, she was diagnosed with autism at 4. She did not talk. She was completely nonverbal. She did not like to be touched. Her mom went to Harvard. I don't remember what she had a degree in, but when she went to the doctor and they said, you just need to institutionalize her. She's never going to be anything. Just all the nevers were literally laid out to the mom. She wouldn't accept it. So she started working with her in the house on her own. And when she wasn't receptive of it, the mom would just go take a break. But she didn't stop. She sent her to school. She literally graduated and is a spokesperson for one of the autisms. I think it's Autism Speaks that she's a spokesperson for.
Oh, wow.
And
look at that.
She has a college professor. I mean, literally. And she designed, she was sent to her aunt's farm during the summer. Her mom would send her there. And she had sensory really bad. So she couldn't stand like a lot of noise. And she paid attention to that. The cows made a lot of noise when they went to the slaughter. And when they would be put into this compression type thing right before they would be, I would say, euthanized, she paid attention to that and how it quieted them. So she did a research project based off of the fact that one part in the movie, she wanted the mechanism to be squeezed upon her. Her aunt didn't want to do it, and she was literally screaming at her and telling her to do it, but it calmed her down. So for her research project in college, she she built the contraption herself and had students come in and tell how they felt, and she was able to keep her contraption in her room to help her through college. So with that, she designed, and a lot of farmers bought her design. It was a way for the cows to go to be euthanized, and it would calm them. They were more calm. And so she's all over YouTube. Like I said, I would highly recommend. It's literally called Temple Grandin, but she's amazing. She has books everywhere, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. She was such a help and a huge inspiration, and especially her mother.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you for that. And what's the name of the movie?
Temple Grandin.
Temple Grandin. We could drop that in the chat for anyone
that
wants to watch that.
And that is also her name as well. And I think she's in her 60s now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, mothers, do not give up on your children. Do not give up. Society may say no, but hey, you know your children better than anyone else out there.
Oh, yes.
They can be the next lawyers and doctors and whatever. They can be whatever they want to be. So check out Temple Grandin's movie or biography, and that should help to inspire you. So now let's talk about those challenging moments. Can you recall a time when your child experienced a meltdown? What strategies did you employ to manage it? And what signs do you look for a single meltdown might be coming?
I know for me, I'll touch base on the now. Well, he doesn't really he does. So at his school's little thing that they had function outside, they didn't have any beef or turkey hot dogs, and they know that we don't eat pork. My son was very upset, and he was having a meltdown because they didn't have any. He couldn't eat nothing, and at the time he loved hot dogs, and so I was just like, just calm down. We can go get some food. Well, I really wanted a hot dog. I said, okay, let's go to Costco's, because Costco's was one of the places where he loved their hot dogs. So we can go, when we leave here, we can go to Costco's and get you a hot dog. And, but I want one now. He really wanted the school's hot dog, except that he's like, they know we don't eat pork. I don't know why they would do that. He just felt like the world was ending because of this hot dog situation. So I just tried to refocus him. I was like, okay, I said, they don't have hot dogs, but we can go to Costco. Let's go get our face painted for now. Let's go grab some popcorn, do something. I said, but before we do that, you have to calm down. It was always a moment of just sitting down, calming down, and refocusing on something different. Also with the transitioning with his dad, at the time, when it's time to come to mommy's house again, mommy's structured. And so he's just like, I'm like, well, you better smile when you see me, like, you never know what we're going to have planned. And a lot of the times it's really just because I don't own a lot of gaming systems over at my house. His dad does. And they will play, on his Xbox or PS or whatever he has. I don't have that over here. What I do have is a laptop in which he does make video games. I just limited all that. No, you cannot be on the laptop for 5-6 hours. You need to rest your eyeballs and go do something productive. So now when he can have those meltdowns, Especially when I come pick him up. I'm just like, hey, let's not freak out first because you don't even know what I have planned for us this weekend. And like you said, pay attention to it. I pay attention to him. It's just, I'm not dad. So sometimes he's like, I don't know what I'm going to be expecting from mommy. All I know is that she's going to make me clean up. You're darn skippy. I'm going to make you clean up. I'm going to go make you wash some dishes. You got some clothes that you need to put in. Like I said, I'm more, I'm, I'm, I'm on it because I don't live at home with my parents and then nobody's doing it but me. So I'm not going to be the only one if y'all got two hands. And if you can figure out how to hack the computers to make this, that, and the third, you can figure out how to fold some clothes. So, the meltdowns with that just became more so of, hey, you do what I asked you to do. You do get a reward in the end. I know, yeah, a lot of people just be like, I'm not rewarding my kids for something that they need to do. Well, you're not me. So I do reward you for something that I know you really don't want to do, and I'm making you do it. I'm going to reward you for that. So he has racked up. He has allowances. He has. He uses my laptop for whatever gaming that he's trying to make in the moment. And so I feel like a lot of things that I have started incorporating as far as like helping us both cope with his meltdowns have really made a difference in him today, because he will now say, he'll be on the laptop and pay attention to the time. He's like, okay, I've been on here for an hour. I'm going to close it and take a break and go write a letter to Jesus. And then he'll come show me the letter that he wrote to Jesus. I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of you, son. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm going to go find something to do now. Sometimes he'll just be running. My house ain't that big, but he'll go from the front door back to the kitchen, run from the front door, back to the kitchen, run. So I just was like, do you need something to do? He was like, no. And he just in his own little world, run back to the, And so, and I now go on nature walks and stuff with him and stuff like that with them, because he likes to be outside. He has asthma and environmental allergies and stuff like that. So it's really not much that he can do physically, but he likes to go outside and have nature walks. And it became less. He's really better now than what he used to be as far as like his meltdowns. And I'm very happy with, even though at the time when I did live with my mom and I was having those breakdowns sometimes with him, I felt like a bad mom. But I really would say, when you do have that relationship with God, he gives you your answers that you need.
Yes.
And he guides you to what you need to do.
Yes,
and sometimes you don't even realize you're on that right path, but just certain things just come up and just like, oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And as far as like the groups and stuff, I do go to church with somebody else named Cameron, and he's on the same spectrum as my son. He's just a little older, and I'll get advice from him, from his parents and stuff like that. And so sometimes you do have to take things away and redirect them, but redirection was definitely something that I would have to do, especially when he would have those meltdowns, and just redirect him to something that I know he will enjoy doing, get his mind off of it. Now, don't get me wrong, he will circle back to what I was trying to redirect him from. But at that point, he's not as built up as he was before. So, yeah.
Okay, that's good. Someone says, I noticed that she has found a sweet spot to have that moment, then go back into the fight. So you know when to take a break, and you know when to be a warrior.
Yeah. And you have to, or else you're gonna overwhelm yourself. And like I said, I couldn't be strong anymore. I didn't have the answers. I tried to figure it out on my own, and it just was not working.
And while you're talking, that scripture, Psalms 46:10, be still and know that I am God. And the Hebrew for be still is Rapha, right? And that just means let it go, relax. So I think in those moments, your child have taught you how to be still, how to let it go, how to relax, and how to let God take over.
Yeah. And ever since then, it's been a breeze.
That's good. That's good. Good stuff. Do you have anything to add, Miss JJ, that we can move on to the magic moments? If not, we can go into the magic moments.
Not really.
Okay. So now let's focus on what makes this journey so rewarding, right? Those incredible magic moments. So now, can you share an experience where your child truly surprised or moved you? In what ways has your child reshaped your perspective on life? And of course, what little victories bring you to the most joy? So those are three questions. So we can start with number one. Share an experience where your child surprised or moved you.
JJ, you can go first. I need to grab my charger really, really fast. So.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so well, for me, I'll be honest with you. All of his moments were magic. You know, when he would achieve something, I would always, be so thankful that he had made every milestone that he made. But one that I really remember that stands out is when he first learned how to read.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in kindergarten, he started picking out certain words that the teacher had used for sight words. So he would take a book and open it up, and it was a book that was, kindergarten appropriate, maybe even for younger. And he would catch those sight words and he would read the sight words. He wouldn't read the words that he didn't know, but just the sight words. So in kindergarten, Seth actually learned how to read because those sight words. And then I mentioned the last time I was on that Kyra was always somewhere with a book, is our avid readers. So, Seth became such an avid reader himself. So when he learned how to read and I heard him read his first book, it was just like, oh, my goodness, it was just so amazing. And I'll also share that for Seth having his autism and his epilepsy, I did, as Nina shared, I did tell him that he had autism, and he went to the dictionary and looked it up. That's what Seth did. Yes. And then, he had other questions along the way that he asked. He since he was 3. So he might have been around the same age, Nina, as your son. He had a seizure, later on. And when I said what happened, because, when a person has a seizure, they don't remember. He went to the dictionary and looked up seizures and read what it meant. And so I would just have a lot of aha moments with Seth because it was what he paid attention to, but also what he read or whatever he researched. So Seth had a very good memory up until his, seizures went so, he was having them so frequently. So before that, everything was a memory, especially any football stats. So just all of those things that I was like, oh, wow. When he would get this, and I gave lots of praise because praise is free. I can reward you with praise. And I limited his screen time as well and the different things. But yeah, I'll just be honest. I miss him so much, every single day, all day. But I praise God for 17 years of Seth.
That's a blessing. Yes.
My condolences to you, because I can only imagine losing a child, several, but in this case, we're talking about our son. So yeah, I can only imagine. I can't imagine. I imagine. So my condolences to you. I've been trying to hold back. I've been trying to hold back tears.
Hey, it's okay. It's please. God, He bottles up our tears. I love it. So, thank you. I absolutely appreciate that. And I was going to tell you, no, this is not. It's not something that we once we lose a child, it's not something that we ever want a parent to experience.
Yeah.
So and even think about. So just all I say is cherish every moment, make those moments count.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do believe in that.
What was your question, Michiel? I'm sorry, I forgot.
It's share an experience where your child truly surprised or moved you.
Yeah, to piggyback what she said, my son didn't talk till he was 3.5. So I want to say every half of year was a milestone for him. Well, he did talk. It was just he was trying to find the words, and it was always backwards. He talked backwards. I don't really know how to explain it, but he talked backwards. I know when he first started to do his ABCs or try to say his ABCs, it was ke de. I don't know what happened to everybody. Okay, everybody's coming back. So everybody's screen went blank. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, it was always Abed Seke De and Fe. He would say stuff like that. And I would just be like, oh man, and I did a lot of sight words. So I was big on sight words, especially on YouTube. Try to get him to talk, reading him books and stuff like that. And so at 3.5, he surprised everybody. He read better than his oldest sister. He was reading books so in the second grade, he was reading at 5th grade level. And he scores above average on his IRE all the time. He knows very big words. They even thought about putting him up a grade, but I decided to keep him where he's at because developmentally, like I don't think he's ready to be with the older kids. I want to keep him where he's at. I don't know what's going on with everything. Okay. I wanted to keep him where he's at. So the aha moments were definitely those. And then when he started to get on the computers and stuff like that, and he was just cracking codes and making video games and doing all that. And I'm just like, whoa. So now I'm trying to work with somebody that goes to our church that knows somebody at IUPUI that does I can't think of the name, but they work with computers, and so I'm trying to get him into a program so where his talent is going to some use and not just lingering, because I don't have the funds for it right now to invest in it, but I do want him to do something to where he can't do ninja, and he couldn't do that because his asthma wasn't stable. So I'm just like, I really want to invest in the fact that he knows how to make apps at 9 years old. So all these aha moments for sure. I'm just like, I do give him praise for that, but because are so close in age, I have to share the praise. He don't get sometimes he get a chance to have his time to himself, his moments, but it's always, a battle between siblings wanting both, attention. But yeah. And I just, I would reward him with, just maybe a little extra time with working on his skills, or he likes ice cream, so sometimes we'll go get ice cream. Now I do popsicles because I'm trying to steer him away from dairy.
And that's good.
Yeah. I'm kind of strict on his eating. We don't do sugar.
Excellent.
And I try to get them to realize as well. The real world is not always going to. I do praise him at home, but for some things, I just was like, "Oh, that's a good job." And I do keep it real with him now. I'm like, "Okay, well, you need to work a little harder at that because you could do better at something. I know you have the potential of doing better at it. So work, try something different to do. You get what I'm trying to say. So and then it works. It works. Challenging him works awesomely. So I don't put him past anything. He's just very bright kid.
And they are bright kids. They're definitely bright kids. Autistic kids are very bright. They excel in different areas, but they're very, very smart kids. So people try to underestimate because there's a label. But like I said, it doesn't mean that they're dumb. They don't know what they're doing. They just learn differently. And that's it.
Yeah.
They just learn differently. So yeah, so thank you so much for sharing those moments. And it seems like the aha moments were related to school, right? So that's good. So that shows you that they are capable of learning, they're capable of doing well, and they're capable of excelling just like quote unquote normal children.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are run out of time. We have 3 minutes, believe it or not. So if you had to travel back in time to give yourself some encouragement at the start of this journey, what would you say? And this is for all the mothers out there, the new mothers that are dealing with children with autism. So if you could go back, what would you tell your past self? How would you encourage? Knowing what you know now.
Things will get things are not what they look like. And I wish I would have gave it to God a long time ago. Giving it to God was definitely something that changed my life completely and changed his life even. But yeah, how reality looks in that moment is not what it's gonna look like forever. Like sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. It's not to be so hard on ourselves, and I would definitely tell my younger self, or being new at all this, you don't have to be strong all the time.
Yes.
So that's something I would say.
Yes. How about you, Miss JJ?
For me, I had shared before that I wasn't ever in denial of anything with any of with Seth or Kyra. So still the thing of even what Nina's saying is that God definitely had to help, and then the support, the village, Seth's dad, and then my parents and the in-laws and everybody that helped. So my thing is I'm still such a sponge, and that's how I was at the time. I just wanted to know what can be done, to be able to help. And I wanted any type of coping skills or, things that people could suggest for me to do. My hardest struggle was just that, being the single parent, and Nina, I did some yelling as well. So, but just to be able to have some, I guess more of the coping skills a little bit earlier than when I did get them. But that's pretty much it there.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I just want to leave the scripture with you. Every good and perfect gift is from above. It comes from God. And that's James 1:17. So your child is a gift. It doesn't matter what label they have. They're perfectly made and designed by God. And someone says, Robin Worsley said, it's not easy, but with trusting the Lord through it all makes and made it possible. And that is so true, because with God, all things are possible. So I want to thank you, Nina and JJ, for letting us into your world today. You are seen, you are strong, and you are not alone. May you find grace in the routines, peace in the meltdowns, and joy in the magical moments. And I want you to join us next week. No, it's next week, next month. We're turning the spotlight on speech language pathologists. And that's my job. That's what I do. And we are all month long. We celebrate speech language pathologists. So many people don't realize the full scope of our work. It extends far beyond treating speech disorders. So join us as we break down myths and shed light on what speech therapy truly is. Don't miss it.
So exciting. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I know you guys help my son out a lot to talk. So we appreciate you.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's more than just talking. We do more than that, so don't miss it. There's a lot of myth about what we do.
Thank you very much for coming in for an exciting program. Exciting program. So look forward to seeing you next week. All right. All right.
Okay.